1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the first order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We are so excited you're joining us this week. We got a fantastic episode for you. We're back to our Bad Batch reviews, and it's going to be so much fun. So let's get the introductions out of the way. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me, as always, he's the wrecker to my crosshair, the David Motters. David, what's up, brother?
Hey, I'm here. I'm excited. I'm ready to react, and especially excited to have this returning guest that is our sister from down under.
That's right. I feel like I should be playing some music there. Anyway, yes, that's right. Joining us again, making her triumphant return to Star Wars Reaction is our good friend and yours, Christina Stevenson. Christina, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so excited to react and talk to you both about Bad Batch. As we were talking just before, we haven't spoken about Star Wars since we were discussing Ahsoka together. So I'm really looking forward to catching up with you both and talking about the Bad Batch today.
Oh, yes, it has been too long, definitely. Ahsoka was a while ago, and that was a great show, and we got a great show here with the 13th episode of The Bad Batch, and this, of course, was entitled Into the Breach, which was released on April 17th, 2024, directed by Saul Ruiz and written by Carabast.
That didn't take long.
No, it didn't. Written by Brad Rao, not Bad Rao, Brad Rao. Oh boy, it's gonna be one of those nights, folks. So brief synopsis straight from the StarWars.com website. On Tantus, Omega gets to know the other captive M-Count children. With their help, she maps the area and plots their escape via a hidden maintenance corridor. Meanwhile, the Bad Batch devise a plan to sneak on board an Imperial orbital station and access the location of Tantus with the begrudging assistance of their prisoner, the former Vice Admiral Rampart. Dun, dun, dun. Bum, bum, bum. There we go. So, initial reactions. Let's go ahead and start this out. Christina, you're our triumphant returning guest. Kick us off. What were your initial reactions when you watched Into the Breach for the first time?
Oh, this was a very tense episode. I mean, I am thoroughly enjoying this season of Bad Batch. I mean, I've loved the whole series so far. And I mean, I'll just digress a little bit if you guys don't mind. But when it was initially announced, all those years ago that they were going to be making the Bad Batch after the final season of the Clone Wars, I was interested, but I wasn't super excited. I just thought, oh, well, I'll watch that when it comes out. I loved Rebels. I love Clone Wars, and I'm a fan of animation. So I thought, well, I'll enjoy it either way. But I don't think I really expected to love it quite as much as I do. I think that the animation, the story, and the character development throughout the whole series has just kept me engaged, kept me coming back each and every episode. There's not an episode that I haven't absolutely really loved. And I just feel like it's just overall a very beautifully crafted show. Every element of the storytelling, from the aesthetics of the animation, the music, with the character and the plot development, they've all been expertly woven together to communicate just a really cohesive narrative. And all of the threads from all of the other previous episodes are slowly being woven together as we approach this finale of this show. And this episode in particular, I feel, was a really good bridge between what we've seen previously to where we're headed in the final showdown, where hopefully the Bad Batch and Omega, well, Omega will free herself. We know that. She's very good at that. But with the Bad Batch's help, hopefully the clones and the Force-sensitive younglings. And I just really, really loved the tension building that this episode had. Every scene, the music, everything drew you in. And at the end, I was left feeling quite anxious. I'm really worried about what's going to happen, what's going to happen to Omega, what's going to happen to the Bad Batch, because we don't know where these characters end up. So we have no idea what their fates will be.
That is very true. It is up in the air on what's going to happen. And so good. So good. David, how about you, brother? What were your initial reactions when you first saw the episode?
Yeah, no, I'll piggyback off Christina. The operative word for me, for the entire episode and or my initial reactions and my final reactions, it's the word tense. They just grew it the entire time. I kept thinking about a young Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace who says, "That was intense." And I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm quoting that. Perfect timing, right? 25th anniversary of that movie coming up. But Brad Rao, Jennifer Corbett, and crew, they delivered the tension, the nail biting, the excitement. I was thinking about that scene where you see Dr. Scalder. I wondered where Dr. Scalder's walking into the vault, and we've seen this in other movies and TV shows where it's kind of like, oh my gosh, build the tension. Oh, they're gonna figure out that Omega's trying to get away. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. That was one part. And then as it went on and as we got towards the end of the episode, I'm on the edge of my seat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I might have a cardiac event by the end of it. But I really enjoyed that. I liked that compared to some of the other episodes. But I have to admit, am I as worried about Omega? I agree with Christina. She's very self-sufficient, very smart, very insightful, and mischievous, and she knows what she's doing. But I'm more worried again about Hunter, Crosshair, Wrecker, Echo, because again, just like Christina said, we don't know what happens to them. I could see Omega going on and being in something else, but my level of nervousness and worry for the batch is pretty high. But those are some of my initial reactions. How about you, buddy?
Well, ditto to everything you said. Honestly, my first reaction to this was intense. I mean, this just started firing on all cylinders, and I was sitting there watching it, and the first thing that came to my mind is, why does this show have to end? Then it also came to me, why do I have to be back at work in the office on Wednesdays when these episodes drop and release? Because my first watch is always on my cell phone in the office. So it's like I miss so much. So I rewatch it on my big TV when I get home. But man, this has been such an incredible season, and it keeps getting better and better and better and better as it goes. It has been insanely good. I love everything they have done throughout this season. And in this episode in particular, it was just absolutely incredible on all levels, from the voice acting to the animation, to the music, to the writing, and all the way down to the snippiness between Rampart and the clones. I mean, come on. It was gold. I have a hard time seeing it getting better than this, but if this is the warm-up act for the next couple episodes, just, go ahead and put a fork in me. I'm done. Simple as can be. So absolutely fantastic. So let's move into some talking points here, because we've got some good things going on in here. What was great about this episode is the fact that we have two different missions going on at one time, and neither party knows these missions are going on, which is fun and unique, because at some point these missions are going to collide and something's going to happen. The first, let's talk about what's going on Tantus. We have Omega in the vault with the kids, with Jackson, Eva, Sammy, and Baron. And I think that's right, Baron, right?
Yeah.
Brian Baron. Okay. Which, of course, the little guy we saw kidnapped by Cad Bane in the last episode. So we see them all getting to know each other and trying to keep their distance from each other, because they, I believe it was Sammy that said they don't like us talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, makes sense. You control your parties by, not letting them socialize. Mm-hmm. And so they let it go. And, of course, we have Omega just biding her time, getting to know the layout of the land and the people and the players in the game. And eventually she gets to the point where she's like, all right, it's time to do this. I'm getting out of here and I'm taking y'all with me. And she hatches her plan, which, of course, is just a good old Bad Batch plan. And we're off to the races. So let's talk about Omega's plan. David, I want to start with you, brother. Being in that petri dish essentially is where she's at. They're surrounded by scientists and droids and everything being observed 24/7. Being in that petri dish, how do you think their Omega's adjusting and, of course, trying to plan her escape while having all these eyes constantly on her?
She seems to be relishing it. I mean, the way that the animator face and the way that Michelle Ang is doing the voice, I really enjoyed it. I like seeing that. And there's that confidence. We just got done talking about Omega's competence and her smarts and her quick thinking. She's already, when you have success, I mean, any of the three of us know this, when you've done something and you've had some success, it does give you confidence versus you're shaking in your boots, not knowing what you can do. So she knows the layout of the place. Once she gets into those maintenance hatches and starts moving around, I'm sure she'll be good to go. My bigger concern is for Baron, that little guy who we saw taken. I love watching him just trot around, but there's something to say when you're worrying about young kids. I do think Jax, the kid who's got the green skin, he's going to be a big help to Ava, Sammy, and little Baron there. But I do like how they, and because I put this in the notes, kind of that two-pronged thing. Like, I like it when shows do this or movies. It's kind of like this is going on, this is going on. So I really enjoyed seeing Omega do her thing, and then of course Hunter and the crew on the other end. But I don't know, any thoughts you have, Christina, on Omega and her plan with the young kid?
Like you, I also really enjoyed how you have those two separate elements of the same story and how each of them are progressing through to the same end. It is quite nice. But actually, what I really loved about all of the scenes on Mount Tantus, that sense of isolation and oppression, and the music really helps to create such a sense of foreboding that you really are kind of drawn in and worried about what's happening. But then you get to see Omega, and she's really shining with respect to her leadership characteristics, because she's not in there being depressed. She's not in there being a victim. She is there trying to be a leader to the other, children. She's letting them know she's got a plan. She's going to work on it. She's not going to leave them behind. She, I think, will be able to draw on their skills, like you're saying with the young, with Jax. But I think she'll bring out skills in all of them for them all to work together to be able to escape. So I'm really loving the leadership that she displays. And I think, David, you're probably like this in psychological terms. I think what Omega has is grit.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So she has that really strong sense of sort of self-confidence, self-reliance, resilience, but that it's all measured by her inherent kindness and empathy. So she's just one of my favorite characters. She's such a beautiful character for Star Wars.
Absolutely. She's an incredible character. And we see this new character coming in too. Scalder, Dr. Scalder, who, of course, is kind of butting heads a little bit with Emery Carr, who's now the head scientist over the vault. But she has definitely a different outlook on what's going on in that vault. She's looking at these kids more as, subject experiments rather than children, where Carr is seeing them as children. And at one point, she almost even catches Omega in her attempt to escape or to find an escape, but successfully Omega is safe and catches on to what's happening and is able to take care of things ahead of time. So it worked out perfectly. So what were your thoughts on Scalder, Christina?
Yeah, very much like what you're just saying with respect to, when she's talking with Emery about, we shouldn't have Omega with the specimens. She definitely doesn't see them as children, as younglings. She just sees them as part of the scientific experiment. But I think that her purpose is to provide a counterpoint so that we can actually see that how much Emery is starting to see what she is doing is wrong. And I think that I'm hoping that she will also be helping Omega escape.
Very good. Very good. Well, like I said, this is a two-part escape mission, or two-part mission going on. We have Omega, like we talked about with theirs, but we also have Hunter in the team working to get to Omega and rescue her. We saw in the last episode, they go out and they go to the one person that nobody expected them to go to, which of course was Vice Admiral Rampart, rescue him from his Imperial prison. And now they have him in their custody and they're planning on using him to get to Tanis. And of course, he reveals to them that the only way to get to Tanis is to go to an Imperial station in orbit of Coruscant. And if your flight plan is to Tanis, they will upload you the information. You get the coordinates from there and you go. So that leads our troops right into as the title says, into the breach, as they rush to Coruscant, to the station, with the help of Echo and a stolen Imperial shuttle and a stolen pair of captain uniforms for Admiral Rampart, and infiltrate the base to get the codes, only to find out that they are only lock and keyed and only transmitted to the ship once a ship departs the station, which changes their plan a little bit because, nothing goes right for the Bad Batch. So they have to do it their hard way. And they they send Echo out on board the shuttle or the cargo ship while the shuttle flies up, and they're disable the sensors attached to the bottom and they jump to hyperspace. So let's talk about their mission and how things are going there. One of the things that really jumped out to me watching them as they go through their thing is, despite being imprisoned for all these years, Rampart hasn't lost his arrogance. He is still the same arrogant dude he was in season 1. Has not changed. And I love that. And we see that, one, as he's interacting, of course, with the Bad Batch, And of course, as he's interacting with that Imperial officer in the shuttle bay. And I think that one of the best things that I saw come out of this episode with Rampart was the exchange he had when they handed him the captain's uniform. He's like, well, this isn't right. And they're like, what? He's like, I'm a vice admiral. And then Echo looks at him and goes, you've been demoted. and Rampart's just like, I hate clones.
Yeah.
It's the perfect interaction for these beat folks. And I'm sorry. Like I said, I watched this for the first time in the office. I literally laughed out loud, and my desk partner turned around and looked at me and goes, you okay? It was that funny. I got a kick out of that.
I think that the humor between Rampart and the clones was really important, because otherwise it just would have been an episode full of anxiety with nothing to break the tension. So I think that those little snappy one-liners really served to help break the tension, and otherwise it might not have been quite so enjoyable an episode, I think.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. It definitely would make things more interesting, to say the least, at that point. But they did a great job of bringing him in and doing these interactions, because it fit, the interactions fit perfectly, especially when he got on the station and he steps out between the clones and basically just dresses down this lieutenant and puts him in his place. And after he walks up, he's like, I've missed this. It's perfect. David, how'd you feel seeing Rampart back in his old stomping grounds?
Oh, I love it. Well, and I think, like Christina said, it not only does he, I never would have guessed this. This is, again, hats off to Jennifer Corbett and Brad Rao, and Matt Miknovitz, who supervises the story editing. The humor breaks the tension, but then the other part that I think about by bringing him back in here in season 3 is when it's one thing to break into, say that last episode in Juggernaut, they break into that prison camp on Erebus. But when you're going to the heart of the Empire and here's an orbital station 003 orbiting Coruscant, it makes sense to me that it can't just be them breaking in and getting out, but to have the help of someone like him, it just really fits, and then it makes it more believable that he's able to be there with them and help them do it. So it feels like, he plays two roles. One, it's definitely comic relief with the clones, but then also he's a key part of getting them past several of these places that would be roadblocks.
Oh, definitely, for sure. He would definitely fit that role, because without him they couldn't do it. And a lot of what he was doing, let me rephrase this. There was one part when you see him walking amongst the clones. He's got 2 clones behind him, he's got 2 clones in front of him, and he's just kind of standing in the middle in that Imperial uniform. And I love the fact that when he dressed up and cleaned himself up, he kept the beard.
Yes, me too. I noticed
it was very to me, honestly, he looked better with the beard than he did without it. He looked a lot more authoritative in my book. It actually aged him and made him look more powerful. But I liked how he looked with it. But there's a scene. I wish I had the picture to send you, but there's a shot where he's in the middle. You got 2 clones behind him, 2 clones in front of him, and he's just kind of standing there. He's got his head half cocked down, looking up through his eyes, kind of cast upward, seeing where he's going. But it reminded me of with just the way it was framed, of when Callus was in custody. In Rebels with the stormtroopers and the stormtroopers on each side of him, right before he gives that crooked smile in the elevator that sent everybody insane for hot Callus. It reminded me a lot of that shot, which I thought was perfect. But like we said, everything goes insane for the Bad Batch. So let's talk about that a little bit with the plans going a little haywire. Oh wow, I'm losing track of stuff. There's so much we got to talk about, y'all. Jeez, time is just flying when we're having fun. We got a lot more to talk about. Before we continue, we got to take this break. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, more Bad Batch. Hang on. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron, David, and Christina is with us talking Into the Breach. So we're talking about how the mission for the Bad Batch is going. And we're talking about Hunter and them on Coruscant trying to get the Tantus instructions and the Tantus coordinates and how to get there. So let's talk about that. Of course, we're talking right before with the break, the plans go haywire because things don't exactly work the way they thought. They actually have to be aboard the ship after it departs to get the coordinates. So I don't know if it was just me or if y'all felt the same way, but with as dark as these episodes have been lately and as close as we are to the end of this, when they split up from Echo, I got nervous, y'all.
Mm-hmm. I was not ready. We've lost Echo once. I'm not ready to lose him again.
Exactly.
I was very nervous.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was, because I mean we had to keep, and the thing is, we're so close to the end, and we know who we see in the Rebels. We know that, but we don't know who else is out there between then and there. So potentially, they could Rogue One everybody.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I know, and that's what kills me is we could be looking at but before I would have been like, it's Disney, they're not gonna do that, but they gave us Rogue One and they did that.
That's right.
So I mean the potential is there. I just don't know if I can handle that, y'all.
Oh no, I'm not psychologically prepared for that. It can't happen.
That's why I got David.
Yeah, he might need to counsel us all afterwards.
Well, I know, and Aaron, you are traumatizing Christina and I, with just thinking about some of this. I as Christina was mentioning that we've already lost him once, and I do think about how they got him back as they introduced the Bad Batch at the end of the Clone Wars, and I think that's right. The three of us have talked before, and we've heard other Star Wars fans talk about this, that a lot of these shows, we know that Han, Luke, Leia nothing can happen to them, until obviously the sequel trilogy. So we know there's not losses there. But, with Rogue One, we had no idea. And with this, like, we do know Rex, right? We know Rex, Wolf, and Gregor, right? But when it comes to Echo and Wrecker and so on and Crosshair, we just don't know. So it makes it. That's why we have this in our show notes. The intensity builds over the course of this episode and over these seasons, and of course losing Tech last year. But I don't know, Christina. You feel that way? Like at least we don't know what happens, so it leaves everything on the table to potentially happen, right? Versus, no, all these people are safe.
Absolutely. And even just the way their plan works on that space station, it's just so on the fly. They're for me, the words that came to mind were desperate determination and consequences, don't matter. They're not preparing for their own survival. Their aim is to save Omega and the clones. They don't know about the Force-sensitive kids, but I'm sure that will become part of their plan. But it just seems that, and I think in towards the end of the episode when Rampart's trying to make the clones back down, and Hunter just has that grim determination on his face as he approaches the other ship to attach. It's like they are doing this no matter what. And so you are filled with this anxiety that how far are they going to take it? What's going to happen to them? Because we have no idea.
That's good. It's we have the intensity of this episode is literally off the chain, and is escalating into realms we don't want to see. Just because we don't want to see the end of the series, but also because we just don't want to see what happens on the grim side. But everything in this has been insane. It's just, I don't know how else to put it.
Well, let me piggyback on that, and Christina, you tell me if you heard this, and Aaron, you as well. But remember, part of the whole thing was Echo was going to get on board the ship because they have to do everything on the fly here, and then he would notify Hunter, hey, now the defense shields are down, you won't be shot at, you can fly up underneath and attach. But they make it so tense that he just starts going.
That's right.
Right, Christina? But
he does.
Right, we don't hear Echo say
he doesn't. He doesn't tell them until right at the last minute. Like, it's so tense.
Oh, and when he flips it upside down, didn't you guys visualize like the connectors from their ship just attach to that medical frigate that's shooting to Tantus? I was like, wait, is it going to connect?
Exactly. Are they just going to be left upside down and the other ship's gone?
Right, you're just upside down, and now TIE fighters are coming at you, shooting you. But that was incredible. And then end the episode versus like showing them appear at Tantus and then cut. But oh my gosh, so yes, Aaron, crazy things go crazy, and they this is, what do they call it, by the skin of your teeth or whatever that is, oh my gosh, incredible.
Well, in this case, it was, by the scrap of metal.
The scrap
of metal of their landing gear. It was very, very intense, because there was a time there, especially the way things have been going for them. You see Crosshair miss the shuttle that's taking Omega with the tracker. He misses,
which so sad.
Which is heartbreaking, because I felt bad for the guy. You could just feel it. His heart dropped at that moment. Yes. But they're coming off of that. They're coming off losing Omega again. They are just hitting setback after setback after setback. Pavu got attacked. I mean, if it could go wrong for him, it's going wrong for him. So par for the course would be Echo trapped on this cargo ship that goes to hyperspace, and they're floating at Coruscant, the heart of the Empire. That just would have been, par for the course. But finally, something went right for them. So hopefully more goes right for them going forward.
Yeah. Well, almost it had to, right? I mean, we're at the next week. Episode
14 next week,
and then 15. Yeah. So
we're almost done, y'all.
No, it's too soon. I'm not ready.
To be or not to be. Oh, it's fantastic. Well, any other talking points either of you would like to discuss that we haven't done yet before we move on?
Any that you have, Christina?
Just the one thing I think I would like to mention would be that we haven't really touched on yet was how well the Bad Batch have just fallen back into being a team. Like at every stage when, Rampart's insisting that they abandon or that this isn't going to work, I think at one stage Crosshair's like, no, Echo's got this. And then, a few lines later, Hunter's saying the same thing. No, Echo will get this done. And they are just again, it's just like they've never been apart. They're back working together as a team. Each of them have their roles. They're fulfilling those roles. You know, it's just sad that Tech's not with them.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. Because they really are. And they needed to make this happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're struggling, that's for sure. But thank goodness they had Echo. And it was good to see Echo because, you know, he has been gone for a while.
Yeah.
So,
I love Echo.
Exactly. And of course, I'm a couple episodes left, so it's curious to see who we will meet in the coming episodes. Who's going to come back? Who's going to show up? Who's going to be a part of the struggle at the end? So,
well, I'm hoping for Ventress.
Oh, Ventress. Could be. That would be cool. That would be cool. I'd be game for that.
Yeah.
We know, and I have a vision in my head of what's going to happen, and it's going to be. I don't want to get my hopes up because I don't want my hopes to be dashed if it doesn't.
No,
so I'm not.
I try not to think about too much about what would be really cool, but I would like to see Ventress again.
Yes, I'll be honest. I try to avoid that too, but sometimes when things are just so exciting like this, you can't help but try to imagine what comes next.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that for the longest time, we did not have back-to-back Star Wars stories like this.
I know.
So
how lucky are we?
I know we would have to wait for either years for a new movie or wait for a year or two for a book to keep telling the story. So by that point, you've had to imagine and let your mind grow wild with anticipation and speculation. So, yeah. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and move into wrapping stuff up here. Final reactions and get the party going. I'll go first. Final reactions, man. I've said it again before. I'll say it again. I do not want this show to end, but I do love what they're giving us. The show just won't stop. I mean, they are firing on every cylinder. Jennifer Corbett and team are just kicking butt and taking names, man. I mean, they are deserving of an award this season. They better win plenty of them. If they don't, I strike. But they have done fantastic. I cannot wait. It's bitter. I'm torn because I can't wait to see what happens, but I don't want to see what happens because that means the show is over. So I'm a little torn in that, but honestly, they've got me hook, line, and sinker. Reel me in, finish me off. Let's do this. Let's finish this show out. It was fantastic. Christina?
Yeah,
how
I
about
agree.
you?
I'm not ready for it to be over either. But I think, like with Rebels, like with lots of things in Star Wars, that the ending might not be an ending. It might just be room for a new beginning. That's what I think. That's what I hope. So I'm along for the ride. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes, and I know that I won't be disappointed.
Good. Very good. David?
Yeah, you guys both got me thinking about Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett. They were interviewed by a number of podcasts, including Dan with Coffee with Kenobi. And something that they were willing to share about the end, of course, that was a long way off at that point, was that you'll be in tears. And so I'm like, oh goodness, like Aaron said, and it's like you don't want it to be over, but at the same time, like with Rebels, they were able to finish it after 4 seasons. They had the opportunity to tell a story of beginning, middle, end, and so you want them to be able to do it. I have thought a lot along the lines of what Christina just said, which is, in my mind, I've visualized several different series that could come off of this. But again, I'll keep that and just kind of like Christina and Aaron, just keep it to myself and not get disappointed if they don't happen. But that's the thing I'm thinking about, is I'm hoping it's tears of like joy of with Omega and the Badge, the whole crew and stuff like that. But I hope it's not as much the tears of sadness. But I very much don't want it to end, but I love that the creatives have an opportunity to do this. And hopefully in these next two, they can stick to landing. I'm obviously hoping for the last episode 15 to be, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes like Aftermath was, the very first episode in season 1. But I have no, knowledge of that, no insight, versus it being 22 minutes next week and 23 minutes for the finale. I'm like, can they do it in 40 minutes, 45 minutes? But I'm really hopeful that they could really get a big clone war in that last one. But yeah, I'm excited and also, sad, so it's bittersweet.
It truly, truly is bittersweet. Well, with that's going to wrap everything up for us with our discussion of Into the Breach. Of course, we want to hear from you and hear your thoughts and reactions to Into the Breach and to the final season of The Bad Batch. How are you feeling about the end coming so soon? Let us know. You can do that through any of our social medias, Facebook and X at SW Reactions Pod. You can hit us up on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Carabast.
Well, Blue Sky.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Earlier, yes. Blue Sky, Threads.
This is usually the one part of the show I usually don't have an issue with.
Yeah.
That's 2 episodes in a row I've jacked this up on. Threads, Pinterest, Blue Sky, Tumblr, Instagram, TikTok,
that's right,
YouTube. Oh my goodness. Hit us up all over there at SW Reactions. You can email us swreactions@gmail.com, or of course you can leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. We would love to hear from you. All right, David, brother, I understand you have a new factoid for us this week.
Yes, I do. Okay, this was fascinating. I was looking in my APA monitor, American Psychological Association monitor for this. And I've talked about this in previous years. Aaron and I have been recording a long time, done a lot of psychology corners. This is a factoid, but this was actually a little surprising to me, but actually good news. So here's what it is. In a study published in Nature Communications, researchers looked at 10,766 individuals in 4 studies, and these individuals were 8 to 35 years old, and they looked at 23 different measures of executive function. Now, again, listeners who have listened over the years have heard me talk about this. This is really based in the prefrontal cortex, the most sophisticated part of our brain. And so they're looking at this. When does this develop? In essence, when do we become not just adolescents, but move into adults? And it says the biggest improvements occurred between early to middle adolescence, and they couch that as 10 to 15 years old. And smaller improvements occurred from middle to late adolescence, 15 to 18 years old. And that performance on all of those measures stabilized to adult levels between 18 to 20 years old. Now, that is good news because for a while there, I had seen physicians and psychologists saying that they had seen the opposite trend, where we weren't seeing the full development of that prefrontal cortex and executive functioning until maybe 22, 23, 24, 25. So when I saw this is back to what I remember seeing when I initially was in grad school. And that is really that movement from an adolescent into young adult at 18, 19, 20. So I thought that was pretty good pretty good little information there in a fun little factoid. So there you go.
Very cool. Very cool. And if somebody wants to talk to you, David, about your factoid or about Star Wars, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. On Twitter X, at David_Modders, Modders. Instagram, I haven't been posting a lot, but I'm there. It's just David Modders, my name. And I'm also on Blue Sky, and I guess, and people can always email the show as well, or do the speak pipe and leave a message there. So
perfect. Christina, if anybody wants to talk Star Wars with you in the land down under, how would they go about doing that?
So I'm sure that if they contacted you guys through your channels to chat with me, you'd pass it along. Otherwise, I can also be found on the CWK Cafe. I post things there as well.
Excellent. We will definitely do that. No problem whatsoever. We'd love to pass it along to Christina. So reach out to us if you want to. And of course, you can hit me up anytime on X at TA Harris 121079, or of course any of the show's socials. You'll get right to me as well. I will be happy to talk the wars with you. Well, there's just one more thing we need to do.
Oh boy, Christina.
Are you ready?
Well, I am with you here.
So, well, I got one for you, folks. And it's an email. Boom! Gotcha.
What?
This is an email I got when I got this yesterday. And it's the subject line spiked my interest almost immediately. For Aaron's eyes only, Star Wars dad joke submission.
No way.
Yes, way.
Okay.
So here we go. I'm going to read you the email because you'll appreciate this, David. And I know I did. It says, "Greetings, Aaron. Your dad jokes are one of my favorite segments of the podcast. So when I found this joke, I had to share it. The attached joke came across my Facebook feed and thought it would be worth sharing with you. I found it funny on its own merits, but also because it came from a barbecue page that I follow up until this point hadn't shown anything to do with Star Wars. Hopefully you enjoy it. May the force be with you, Adam Jung." And it's spelled Jung, but in parentheses he puts pronounced Young like Carl, which David would appreciate.
Nice, Dr. Carl. Yes, nice.
So, Adam, thank you so much for this dad joke. And this will be this week's dad joke of the week. Are you ready?
Yes.
Ready.
What do you call a Star Wars themed all-you-can-eat restaurant?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. What do you call? Yeah. What do you call an all-you-can-eat Star Wars themed restaurant?
Boba Fett. Boba Fett. Get it? Buffett. Buffet.
Oh
Boba
no, that's not good. That's really bad.
I got a kick out of that one, man.
Of course, because it's a groaner. Can I do a dad joke that's kind of related to space as a little bonus? Can I do it, Christina? Are you okay? So did you guys hear that there's a restaurant on the moon?
No.
No. The food is good, but there's no atmosphere.
Oh God. Bravo, David.
Well,
you
have
learned well, grasshopper.
And it had to kind of do with, intergalactic space and outer space and all that. So I heard that the other day from a client of mine, and so I thought, there we go. And we'll give Christina 2 for 1, and she's so fortunate.
So
So
lucky.
That is awesome. I love it. Look, this has been a blast, Christina. Thank you so much for joining us again. It is always so much fun to talk with you. We don't do this enough.
I know. Thank you. I love coming on and chatting Star Wars with both of you, and I'm happy to do it whenever you want to have me back.
Well, we will definitely get you back sooner rather than later this time. David, brother, this has been a blast like it always is, bro.
Oh, it's so enjoyable. So fun to talk with you every time. I've always said that. I love talking the wars with you. And then, of course, with great friends like Christina. I'm so thankful to know her. Christina, thank you for being on, taking the time to carve out time in your busy schedule down there. And we appreciate you. We just are thankful for friends, but Star Wars friends like you, and you're just good people. And thank you for being on again.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you guys.
Absolutely. And we want to thank everybody else for listening. Thank you so much for joining us each week. Y'all are the best. We love y'all. We're praying for you. I wish y'all the best. Remember, do something nice for somebody this week. You'll never know how much one act of kindness will change their life, and even more so change your life as well. So go out there and do it. Remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.